Hello, this is Jed Brewer with the Below the Line Club and Study Groups. Very nice to have you on the call on this March Madness kickoff. So make sure to check your brackets today. I wish you very good luck. Today, though, we're going to be talking about two main topics. One is protecting lottery profits. So lottery is an important profit center for many of our convenience chains. And how do we manage it well? How do we stop lottery theft? How do we stop wasted hours? How do we eliminate all the manual labor that goes in with managing lottery? And how do we gain visibility and detect theft and other things in real time? So we're real pleased to have Mehdi Mahmoodi, who is the co-founder and COO of LottoShield, to really do a deep dive into lottery and help us address some of those issues. And then second, we'll be talking about credit card fees and how do we master that credit card processing fees, and have Casey Cook, who's the president of PIX, on here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about how we benchmark our fees to gain a competitive edge, also navigating legislation that's out there, and also how do we offer our own white label merchant services and maybe use that as a way to win more gallons. So it's going to be really nice to have Casey on the call as well. But we'll start first on the lottery topic. I did want to mention that we're going to record this and we'll send out the slides to you afterwards. But we want this to be as educational as possible. So if you have any questions, I've got you on mute, but please type those questions into the dialog box in the GoToWebinar framework. I'll be able to read those questions and I can relay them to Mehdi or to Casey at the appropriate time. Again, we're here to hopefully answer your questions, illuminate these two important topics, and help you leave a more empowered person. So with that in mind, Mehdi, we're going to go ahead and jump on into the topic of lottery. And just a brief highlight about LottoShield, Mehdi's company. They were the first firm that completely automated or developed a completely automated product that keeps track of lottery. That product helps eliminate the need for manual logs and fully reconciling with sales and state lottery records. And their mission really is to save their customers time while also significantly reducing lottery theft. So that's a little bit about Mehdi and LottoShield. But Mehdi, jump on in and tell us a little bit more about how we can automate our lottery management process.
Thank you. Thank you, Jed, for having us, and thank you to Study Groups. My name is Mehdi. Just to introduce myself over here, my name is Mehdi. I'm one of the founders, LottoShield. So during this presentation, I'm going to kind of break it down into two parts for you. So the first part, I'm going to talk about how we started, about our story a little bit, our guiding principles as a company. And during the second part, I'm going to focus on some things that you can do to help track your lottery better, prevent theft. And a common theme that you're going to see during this presentation is catching theft and catching issues before they become big. So finding out when issues happen when they're still small, because in lottery what happens is things often, they start small and they become really big. So I'm just mentioning that because it's going to be a common theme. So let me get started over here. So that's a picture of me 7 years ago when I was a lottery retailer running C-stores. And what happened is we noticed that one of our stores that was doing really good just a few months ago was making money. It wasn't making money anymore. The bank account was low. We hadn't put money into it, and so we started researching and looking into it, and we saw this. We saw one of our employees stealing scratcher tickets on the job, playing it. And what happened here is this issue started out small, but it became so big that it was affecting our cash flow. I mean, we were losing thousands of dollars a month because of one employee who was playing scratchers on the job. So we talked to our attorney, we looked into things, and basically came to the conclusion that there's nothing really we can do. The best thing we can do is to just cut our losses. So we fired him, and we cut our losses. And uh, later on, a few months after
And
that.
Mehdi, just real quickly, to provide some context, you're a retailer yourself. Yes, you have this LottoShield product that you developed, but out of your experience as a retailer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so we operate some convenience stores in the Bay Area. So that's how we kind of came to this issue. You know, we felt the pain firsthand, and we wanted to just solve it. So that's kind of, yeah, that was the inspiration. So uh, later on, this happened. Someone drove into our store, stole our safe, and uh, they also stole our scratcher display case. And you know, by the time we came to see which scratchers were stolen, have the state lottery void them out, it was already too late. They had already cashed most of the tickets. So uh, once again, these manual spreadsheets had failed us. So then we started, you know, talking to peers in the industry, and you know, we figured out that this is a big issue in our industry. Everyone, you know, the theft happens to everyone. Doesn't matter who it is, small retailers, large retailers, big box retailers. And we saw that there really isn't a solution for it. So what we decided to do was we started a lottery management company. Uh, we started LottoShield about 3 years ago, uh, and we're now in 39 states using LottoShield. So yeah, it's been quite a great, you know, good journey, learning journey. And what we do every day, we come to work, we try to make lottery management and uh, theft prevention just easier. So I'm going to get into our guiding principles, what we kind of go by. There's two of them. So the first one is we wanted to make it easy. If the product is not easy to use, no one's going to use it. In an environment like gas stations, convenience stores, you have turnover, you have new employees coming, and you need to make it extremely easy to use. So we developed our own scanner, and it takes 20 seconds for you to do an audit. You just grab our scanner, you scan all the tickets, no more writing down the logs, and you do the audit. So virtually no training involved, and it's easy. So that's the first thing. The second thing was we needed to make it airtight. What I mean by that is nobody can fool the system. No, there's no way a employee or a manager or anybody can mess around with the numbers and, you know, make you think that the everything is good. So we had to connect to the POS. So we integrated with the POS systems, and now we're getting inventory counts and we're getting POS information. So what that allowed us to do was basically give you this automated spreadsheet, which shows you the packs, the pack numbers, the games, the POS sales, and the movement. And we're able to pinpoint, tell you when there's a shortage. So now you know exactly when there is a shortage, and nobody can mess around with these numbers. We wanted to also make an investigation tool for people to investigate issues. And that's what brought us to our timeline, which shows you all the details. So when you do have a shortage, you click into it and you're able to see all the activity that happened on that pack, down to when it was activated at the store terminal, when it was on a certain ticket, POS details such as selling details and voiding details. So you're able to, you know, see when someone sold a ticket, and it really, what this tool did, it saved about 90% of the time our customers spend when they want to investigate a shortage. So this makes catching it and investigating it quick. Uh, One of the things that we didn't expect was in cases of like uh, theft, where from the outside somebody comes in and they steal tickets, they break into your store. We weren't planning on this, but it turned out to be a solution, because when someone steals a scratcher case, we're able to tell immediately which tickets were stolen, which pack numbers were stolen, and from which ticket going on was stolen. So our customers, when they have these types of incidents, they can log in, download this spreadsheet, and just send it to the state and deactivate tickets within minutes instead of hours. So we thought we wanted to take it a step further, and we wanted to also integrate with the state lotteries. We thought that, you know, manager level pack theft is a big issue, and we wanted to solve it. So how we solved that was by connecting to the state lotteries. So we did that. Now we're tracking everything on the pack. So we know when it's activated, we know when it's settled. We get all the daily reports from the terminal. So now we're able to tell you if someone activates a pack and takes it, which was a big issue for especially chains that have many stores. So we could tell them the next day instead of months later when it's already a huge issue. The second thing was, the other thing was price book management. So we noticed that a lot of retailers, specifically the smaller ones that don't have big offices or a central price book, we noticed that they have issues with upkeeping their lottery price book, because you get new games from the state and you don't put them in the system. Sometimes you're just ringing up other games, and this makes for an unorganized price book. So we started managing the price book and adding new games into the register for our customers, and this helps them just sell lottery in a much cleaner way. Everything scans, everything works, and accountability is better. So before we knew it, we had a fully fully automated lottery management solution. So this concludes the first part of my presentation, where I kind of tell you about our story and about LottoShield a little bit. The second part is going to be things that you can do right now, things that you should probably be doing to keep a better track on lottery. So I'm going to get started on that part now.
Yeah, it's an interesting journey though, Mehdi, where you're a retailer and you have this problem. You didn't venture out to create a new product, but that was your solution for yourself. And then I assume after you solved it for yourself, you were like, hey, we can maybe help some others out there in the industry as well with our technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what happened. I mean, we started creating the solution, and then it just we started telling our friends about it, and then before we knew it, like everyone wanted it, everyone wanted to use it, and everyone started kind of using it, and we obviously built the whole company and everything. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. And to actually touch on that, Jed, you brought that up. Everyone used to tell me that this is kind of why our product is so good, because we're from the industry. I used to discount that in the beginning, but I kind of understand having one leg in the industry really helped us design this product to be what the user wants, because we were kind of on the other side. So yeah, thank you. So what did we learn from this journey? We learned that 80% of retailers are using paper logs still. The average store spends about 7 to 10 hours a week on lottery tracking. Chains employ full-time staff in their offices just to monitor logs and invoices from the lottery. Investigations take several hours to complete, or several hours to days to complete, and they require hours of watching camera footage. We also saw that larger companies in multiple states have more difficulty managing lottery, just because they're dealing with all the different jurisdictions. So why should we sell lottery? This is a question that I'm sure people ask themselves all the time. Why are we selling lottery? The margin is so low. We're not making a ton of money. Well, here are some reasons to sell lottery. Obviously, you have increased foot traffic. So that's one of the biggest reasons. It brings people in. People buy their gas, they buy their other things at the store. And if you don't have lottery, that lottery customer might go to another store to buy the rest of their things. Additional sales, like kind of like the impulse purchases, they bring under supporting state programs. The money's going to education, parks, social services. Competitive necessity. I think this is the most important reason you should sell it, because kind of like I just touched on, if the person down the street has it, you should probably have it too. And so many retailers have it. So it's kind of a competitive necessity. That's why we sell it. And obviously there's a small little incremental profit associated with it too. Not like the rest of the items in the store, but it's something. So let's get into some common types of theft and how to spot them. So I'm going to start off with stealing whole and partial packs. By the way, I didn't mention this in the beginning. We have a free ebook that we'll show you. You can download at the end of this presentation. So all of this stuff will be in there. So stealing whole and partial packs. This is the most costly form of theft. So I'm starting with this. This is when people steal packs as a whole. And the key is to find this as soon as possible. You need to monitor your daily settlements, and that's a really good way to spot it, because when someone's stealing packs, they're activating them and they're cashing them same day. And if you look at your settlements, if it goes up, you have spikes in the settlement, that's a pretty good reason to look into the store and see if there's an issue. So that's one of the best ways to find it. The other way is to obviously restrict access to the packs, limit the access. Obviously, the manager probably needs to have access, but some stores we see they give access to everyone. Like the employees can just walk back there, activate a pack, load it up. So we recommend restricting access to one person. And obviously, the last one is to implement a tracking system. So the next thing is playing scratchers while on the job. So this is another very common form of cashier level theft. And what happens with this is it starts out innocent and it usually leads to theft. So the first thing you need to do is, if you haven't done this already, is have a clear written policy of no playing scratchers while on the shift, and you need to enforce it. And if they want to buy scratchers, they wait for their shift to be over. They go to the other side of the counter and they buy it from the employee. So no playing while on the shift, because this leads to theft. Oftentimes they have the whole inventory there, so they take a ticket, they play it, hoping they're gonna win, so they can actually pay for the ticket. And eventually the odds turn against them, and they end up being stolen without even wanting to. So watch your cameras, monitor and enforce all of these policies. The other thing is stealing from the middle and the end of the pack. So this is when the employee steals tickets in the middle, or they go to the end of the pack and they steal it. For this, you need to make sure that your display cases are locked. I see a lot of retailers, they don't lock their display cases. Their keys are still in there. All the shelves need to be locked. This makes it a lot harder to steal. I mean, they could still peel the tickets out and do this thing, but it'll just take so much longer, and it's harder to feed those back in once you've already unfolded them. And usually when it takes longer like that, it's easier to catch when you're watching the camera. So lock the cases. The other thing is to check the activation time of the pack and check the camera then. So a lot of the time when this type of theft happens, stealing from the middle and the end of the pack, it happens when the pack is initially loaded. So check the activation time, see when it was activated, check the camera. Within 10, 20 minutes of that time, you'll probably see the theft, because that is most of the time they do it before they load it in. More measures to prevent theft. So get your state retailer portal. If you haven't done this, the states provide you with a free retailer portal. It gives you access basically to the back end of your terminal. You can pull reports from it. You can pull credits, invoices. This is what the retailer portal looks like. So if you haven't registered for this, do this. It's a free tool that the states provide you. You can get reports and just have access to your store. So the other thing is count inventory every shift. So these are just some things that you should know and do. So count inventory every shift. Make sure you're taking the inventory every shift, so you're accountable by shift. Some people do it once a day, and it's kind of, it becomes very hard to find an issue when you're going based off of one time a day, because you have multiple employees coming and it's hard to make someone accountable. And when these employees know you're only keeping inventory once a day, they often know they can steal too. So take it every shift. Make sure every employee is accountable for balancing their shift.
And just to be clear, Mehdi, there's multiple ways to count inventory, I guess, but your product really helps in that, the LottoShield product, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, with our product, you just scan them. It's made to be really easy, and they don't have to do any of this stuff. Our product does all of this. Right now, this whole second part, the point of it is to, give you something that you can that can help you, without LottoShield. But obviously, if you use LottoShield, you don't have to worry about any of this. It's all automatically monitored. We're connected to the state, the POS. You don't have to do anything. You just need to scan. That's it.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jed. So pack statuses. So this is something that you should understand. Pack statuses are the different statuses your packs are in. So when a pack leaves the facility, it's an issued pack. It's not worth anything, but that's the status. Once you get it at your store, you confirm it on your lottery terminal, it becomes a confirmed pack. Still not worth money, but these are the packs in the backstop. Now, once you want to sell that pack, you go to the display to load it, you activate it. Then it becomes an activated pack. Now your pack's worth money. This is where you really need to keep control of it. So that's activated status. When it becomes settled, usually when you sell when a certain percentage of the tickets in that pack are cashed, meaning you sold a certain percentage, the pack becomes settled. And that's when it gets closed out, it gets charged and everything, charged to your account. And then the return status is when a rep comes in, takes the packs out and says you don't need to sell them anymore. Those become returned packs. So you need to track those too. Make sure you actually do get the refund for that pack. And auto activated is a pack where it's in some states. California has it. If a pack is sitting around in the backstock in confirmed status for more than 90 days, I believe, it automatically activates. So when you see that status, you should know that this pack is automatically activated, and I should go see where this pack is. Make sure you're selling it. Make sure you don't have a live activated pack in the backstock. Cross-check your backstock inventory with your state receipts. So to kind of monitor your backstock, print the reports from the store terminal, see your backstock, and make sure that they're actually in your store. So this is something you should do probably every day, at the least once a week. Check it off, make sure all the packs are there. Maintaining a clean price book is very important. a lot of retailers, they kind of stop maintaining a clean price book. They get new games. Usually you're getting around 5 or 6 new scratcher games a month, and instead of just adding the new game into the price book, they kind of just scan another $5 ticket. We see this all the time, and the problem with that is it just becomes so hard to see which ticket's missing, because when you look at the POS sales, you had one ticket sold, but you don't know it might be another one. So maintain a clean price book, make sure that all the UPCs, all the prices, everything is updated nicely in the system. That'll help you a lot. Vending machines. So vending machines are often, a lot of people tell us, oh, I'm going to get a vending machine and I'm not going to have theft, and it's going to be really good. So the thing about vending machines is vending machines, you're not really selling through the POS. So you need to really keep a control, even though one person has access to it. When you take the cash out, you need to make sure that you have a clear procedure, because oftentimes we see they don't know what they're doing with the cash. They take it, the owner comes and takes it. Sometimes they say, leave it over there, leave it in the back, we'll come take it. You need to take the cash out and you need to ring it up on your register. You need to make it go through your register. And what you're doing then is you're making it a part of your daily over and short. So we recommend closing out your vending machine every day, and also doing it through the register. So taking the cash out, ringing it up as a big lottery sale, and then making sure that cash and that POS sale matches the inventory, the receipt from the vending machine. So it's important to have a clear procedure for the vending machines. And the most important thing is to, if we come back to this, is investigate small theft immediately and communicate a zero tolerance policy. So oftentimes employees who steal they're very well versed. They've been fired from multiple other jobs. They know the limits. They know, especially in California, I mean, they know exactly how much they can get away with. And, I can steal $800 and I'm still good. I'm not like getting a misdemeanor or something. So they know, and they know your process. When they come to your store and they see you not taking inventory, they see the manager not checking the inventory logs, they know you're not on top of it, and they start stealing. And oftentimes they start with small theft that seems like it could have been a mistake. So they'll misplace a $2 ticket and they'll see if you catch it. If you don't catch it, they're going to start ramping it up. So it's important to look into everything and communicate even that $2 mistake, so they know you're watching, because that'll save you from a bigger, big issue. Lastly, burglaries. So people ask us, what do we do with burglaries? How do we make it so we don't have less this type of thing? Because it's been happening a lot lately, where people break into the store, steal the scratcher case. What we recommend doing here is put up a sign, make sure, and somewhere in the store on the scratcher case, say lottery products are monitored closely. Why do we say this? Because the sign can kind of save you. These thieves, when they come at night, they break into your store. Oftentimes they scope out your store the day before or the morning of. I mean, almost all the time when you have when someone burglarizes a store, someone goes and they scope it out because they want to see where things are. They put up a little action plan. And if they see a sign that says lottery products are monitored closely, or lottery products are removed at night, or lottery products are deactivated at night, something like that, it can deter them. Why if they're going to go through the headache of burglarizing a store, they'd rather go burglarize a store without a sign like that. So it could do a lot more than you'd think. Obviously have cameras and alarms, immediately report burglaries, and keep a detailed log of all the scratchers with the game numbers, the pack numbers. The pack numbers are really important. A lot of the people don't keep the pack numbers. So make sure you're keeping the pack numbers, because that's what you're gonna report when to the state lottery. So that concludes my presentation. I'm gonna open it up to questions, or I don't know if we're gonna do that after. We can do that after, but this is our free ebook. If you take out your phone, you could just scan this QR code. It'll take you to our website where you can download our free ebook. All of the things that I kind of talked about are in there. It's our lottery loss prevention guide, and it's a pretty good thing to have, read over, and yeah. So
Thank you, Mehdi. Those are terrific best practices, and thank you for making this loss prevention guide available freely to members too. A couple quick questions. I saw on your state slide where you're doing business. There's a few states that you're not in. Is there a reason for that, or just not yet there? I didn't know if there were regulatory reasons.
Yeah, good question. So there's actually 5 states that don't sell lottery. So those are the ones that are 5 of those are because of that. And there's just a few more that we just haven't had a customer in. We can do business in every single state that sells lottery.
That makes sense. Yeah, and then who benefits from LottoShield? Do you need a certain size chain, less than a certain number of stores? Does it work for everybody?
Yeah, so thankfully, I mean, anybody who sells lottery will benefit from LottoShield. Single site operator, all the way to, we have a 400 site operator. We have a 300 site operator. HNS Energy is one of our customers. They just bought another 160 stores. It was on the news yesterday. So we're doing that. Everyone benefits. The chains especially benefit a lot because they don't have controls. They have a lot of managers, and this system is just watching them for them. They don't have to do anything. So everyone benefits across the board because you're saving time, and you're finding out about the theft right away. So you're saving your lottery shrink is getting reduced by 90%. So
no, that makes a lot of sense. And one last question for a retailer. How long does it take to get set up with LottoShield if one went down that route? Is it cumbersome or real simple to do?
yeah, it's really simple. You basically just sign up on our website, or you could talk to us however you want. But yeah, the process, you just sign up on our website. You start we have a free trial. You start your free trial. You receive the scanner. You connect it to the store's Wi-Fi, and you're ready to take audits. The process usually takes about 10 to 20 minutes per site to get onboarded, and the training is virtually zero because you just need to scan the tickets. It doesn't matter which order you go in, how many times you scan. So the employees, they don't really need to be trained on it.
Awesome. Well, Mehdi, thank you so much again for sharing. For the audience, we'll send out Mehdi's contact information along with this slide deck. But yeah, I encourage you to scan that QR code to get that free loss prevention guide as well. So we're going to change gears really quickly to talk about credit cards. And it's interesting because Mehdi and LottoShield, they're retailers and had a need and developed LottoShield out of that experience being a retailer. Well, with Pix, they started out as a petroleum marketer, and that's their main job, but had a need and developed Pix out of solving that need. So really pleased to have Casey Cook on the call here. He's the president of Pix, to tell us about how do we benchmark our fees to gain competitive advantage, legislation that's out there that we need to be aware of as well. But overall for Pix, really what they do is simplify service processing and help fuel wholesalers and retailers save money on credit card processing fees. And so Casey, we'll let you dive into your presentation here, but really look forward to hearing from you.
Great, thank you, Jed. And thank you Below the Line Club members. This is our third presentation here, and each time we try to incrementally build on what we've discussed prior, and also just recap a little bit of what we've gone over before. So want to get right into it, and we are keeping you away from watching your March Madness games, and my bracket's already busted, so I'm in no hurry to get out of here, but I will try to honor your time. Three takeaways for today. The first is benchmarking your fees to gain a competitive advantage. This is really for all retailers, whether you're branded or unbranded. The second is about winning more gallons. This is particularly going to be helpful for fuel wholesalers. And the third piece is something we've published a couple of articles about, and I'm sure you've seen in the news, but just navigating legislation and can they be an ally in helping reduce fees. So jumping right into that, we're going to discuss first benchmarking your fees to gain a competitive advantage. So starting with a very simple question, most people have a good idea of what their fees are for their particular store or group of stores, but do you know how that stacks up against your competition down the road? So you might have a general sense of 2% is great for my fees, but am I maximizing my savings there? So we'll give you the biggest nugget here at the very beginning, because I want to circle back to this later on. But what you're looking at here is a screenshot of a calculator tool that we've created, and we're going to give to you at the end of the presentation. So this is a very busy slide with information, but what I want you to see here is this is a chart of actual effective rates for our average PIX customer. We're talking about somebody who's maybe doing $120,000 of credit card processing in a month. They're averaging about 5,000 transactions. Think about a store maybe doing 50,000 gallons per month. They receive no special pricing. We call this our sticker price. These are mostly mom and pop shops. And so what you can see here between the average volume and transactions and gallons per month sold is based on your average ticket, your range of expected effective rates. This would be all your cards combined. This would be based on each card type. So knowing that below the line club members are the highest quality customers, we'd expect your pricing and fees to be lower than the average C store. And if they're not, we'll explain why. So again, don't worry about keeping up with this particular slide. We're going to send you the tool at the end of this. So if you're looking at this and you're thinking, well, I know I'm averaging around $30 a ticket at my store, but I'm nowhere close to 1.82%. Let's dive into why that could be. So there are three big factors that impact your effective rate. And if this is not your first webinar, not your first time you've seen PIX, you'll already be familiar with this concept because we discuss it a lot, because it is the biggest impact on your overall effective rate. Here's a very busy chart, but you've likely seen this chart from us before. Interchange fees are simply the fees charged by the card brand. Here are 5 of those common fees at a gas station. Every interchange fee is made up of a percentage of the sale fee, and some also have a transaction fee. So you see here, a good example is debit, 0.05%. It's got the lowest percentage fee, the highest transaction fee. So as you see, a $1 sale, that 22 cents is going to eat up almost all of your potential profit margin. You move on up to 5, 10, 20, and 50, you see that 22 cents is impacted less and less and less across the board. Most interchange fees are set up this way. And there are the exception where some are just a flat percentage fee with no transaction fee. So the dollar size, very simply, of your average transaction will maximize or minimize the impact of the per transaction fee. So that's your average ticket. What else is going to impact that higher fee? The next piece is going to be your card mix. Your card mix will 100% impact your effective rate. And this is a very simple chart showing the most common fee qualification for each card type between debit, American Express, Discover, MasterCard, Visa, Fleet, and EBT. When you count all the fees added in together and you have a $30 sale, you'll see your effective rate on a debit card is going to be significantly lower than all of the other cards, with the exception of EBT. Obviously, if you're accepting EBT, you should have a very low rate for EBT. You shouldn't have any discount rate, and it should be a very minimal transaction. This is just an example of what someone could be charging for EBT. So
I was just going
the
to say
good
real
news
quick,
is-
Casey, it was interesting. I was sitting in a study group meeting the other day with some retailers, and we're talking about credit card fees. And, fees have been high, and they suck a lot of cash out of the business, of course. But we were talking about, we've known this, and so people have been trying to encourage more cash usage, discounting gas, for cash payments, for instance, or tying loyalty programs to ACH. And yet, if we look at our cash to credit mix, people more and more, even though we're doing all this stuff to encourage cash, more and more they're using cards as their mix. And not only are they using cards, but they're using the higher cost cards. These credit card companies are really good at marketing to get people onto their cards, and particularly the higher cost cards.
Yeah, it's you set me up really well for the next slide, which I'll show in just a second, Jed. But the reality is, since COVID, we've seen a massive uptick in credit card usage. Where it used to be, 5-7 years ago, it was maybe 60-40 cards to cash. And 10 years ago, it's maybe 50-50 or even more skewed towards cash, especially at a convenience store. But since COVID in particular, we're looking at such a high uptick. It's north of 70%, maybe 80-90% in some locations, especially for interstate traffic. The good news, though, is when it comes to card mix, almost exclusively across the board, all stores, debit cards make up at least 50% of your transactions. So that keeps your effective rate low. So the question, like you're talking about, Jed, is how do we encourage cards with lower fees? Now, debit cards will not be lower fees if your gas station is averaging $10 a sale, because that 22 cents is going to eat up a lot of your $10 that are spent there. But let's take a look at this. So if you say our site is averaging $30 a ticket, so we want to encourage more debit card usage than other cards. Sometimes people pose the question of, is it a good exercise for me to offer a cash credit pricing at the pump outside? What a lot of people don't realize is you can set your point of sale, for the most part, to also give cash pricing with debit cards. And it doesn't have to be just cash related. So again, another very busy chart, but the piece I want to point out is, if I live in a state where I can do cash credit pricing and I want to offer a discount at the pump for it, how much am I going to lose to try to win more gallons, to pull people into the gas station because they see a lower posted price, or because I want to encourage them to pay by debit card? This example, very simply, if you have $3.30 posted credit price, $3.25 for a cash or debit price. I know this is more probably East Coast pricing here, but what you see here, again, those same common cards listed, if you're giving a 5-cent discount, your total sale on 10 gallons would be $32.50. You take out all your fees, your effective rate is lower, and your gross profit on that is going to be $32.25. I guess before you also take out the additional margin for fuel, but you're looking at not a major difference by offering that. Even at 40 gallons, your total sales here and your gross profit after you're taking out the credit card processing fees, you're well within reason. So debit, even if you're giving a 5-cent per gallon discount, is going to win out over most card types. Visa might be the only one that is not winning out over top of. So a very simple answer to this question: if I want to try to encourage debit card usage, and I can post a cash credit price, will that significantly impact my bottom line? The answer is no. I know there's a lot of other factors of whether you want to do this, whether the optics look good for you or not. Especially I hear mixed reviews on if customers like seeing this. Typically, it's a surprise for a customer in a bad way. They pull in thinking it's going to be one price, and it ends up being a higher price when they pay. But there are better ways to handle that. Okay. The next big piece impacting your effective rate after average ticket and card mix is your processor. For an average C store, like some of the ones we serve, this could impact, just your processor alone could impact your fees by $2,000 to $5,000 annually, different than having a different processor. But we're all below the line club members. We're all good operators. We're paying a low rate, right? And I often hear this of, well, I'm paying 3 cents a transaction. And our response typically is, well, our quote is at 5 cents a transaction, but I bet that our 5 cents, the transaction is thousands of dollars better than your 3 cents. How's that so? Well, this is a common rate sheet that processors fill out. So if you're securing processing for somebody and they're quoting you at 3 cents a transaction, typically on the back end, they've got lots of ways to make up for the fact that they're offering you a very low rate. There's all the different fields from whether you want to do interchange plus pricing or tiered pricing. There's authorization fees, item fees, there's AVS fees or address verification fees. You didn't know you'd have to pay more for someone to type in their zip code to secure your transaction. Well, in some cases, people do charge more for that. Also, for someone punching in their PIN debit, extra fee for that. Also, PCI protection, same company that charges you for the protection can also charge you the non-compliance fee. Doesn't really add up to be there. So while you're thinking you're paying 3 cents a transaction, that 3 cents could very quickly add up to be 18 cents a transaction. And what we see too,
that just makes me smile, Casey. These financial institutions are so good at adding on fees to everything that we do.
They are, and it is like whack-a-mole there. When legislation is introduced, there are always ways that they skirt around being able to make up for it on the back end. And the reality too of 75% of merchants we see are paying non-compliance fees, which you want your merchants to be compliant, but it should be our job as the processor to help someone be compliant so that they're secure. The reality too is when PCI non-compliance fees are paid, they are not paid to the card brands. That is top line revenue for the processor. So the same person charging you to protect you is also charging you non-compliance, which is just a fee adder. So some of you are saying here now, well, I'm branded, this is irrelevant to me. I have no choice in the matter, so I can't even negotiate these type of rates. Well, if you're branded, you're right, you don't have control over what your card fees are. We've shown this chart several times before, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time here. But if you are up for renewal, you should definitely consider your brand card fees in the equation of selecting your brand. Because over a 10-year contract, one brand over another could impact your fees as much as $100,000. We have this in calculator form too, and if you are considering unbranding or changing brands and you want this to be a tool in helping you determine how much of my card fee is going to be impacted by this, we can help you navigate that landscape as well. But this chart just simply shows, based on the card mix, based on average tickets, and how the brands charge their fees, there's a very straightforward and accurate way to determine which brand is going to be more expensive for you versus less expensive for you. Bottom line in all of this is download the calculator at the end of this, print it out and give it to your accounting department and say, I want you to compare our C-store fees compared to an average C-store. If you're not in the ballpark, if you're in the ballpark, great. But if you're not in the ballpark, we can help you navigate what changes you need to make, whether that's us helping you out in the end or not. I'll show you a preview at the end of this as well. Okay, takeaway number 2. The next part is going to be particularly helpful for fuel wholesalers, especially when it comes to winning new retailers and winning more gallons. You want to find every way that you can stand out in a good way to win new business. White labeled card services is a great way to stand out. So really, what is it and why offer this? One, this is simply utilizing someone like Pix, or if someone else offers this service is great as well. But your retailers, their second highest operating cost typically is card processing fees. They're sensitive to it. They know it's a big deal. And you can offer, as a tool in your toolkit to win more gallons, rates that they couldn't otherwise get themselves. From our wholesale partners that we've worked with, we've seen 3 key improvements from us managing their merchant services for their retailers. One is an increased revenue. Again, you're winning new gallons, but also we participate in a revenue share with the fuel wholesalers because they have the hard work of bringing a retailer to the table. We consider it a partnership where we share a portion of the card processing revenue we generate back to the wholesaler. Again, you also get to expand your offering. This is going, if you offer low rates and you consistently do it, you're going to attract and keep customers with pricing they can't get themselves. It also helps you in becoming a trusted partner. A lot of fuel wholesalers I know offer beyond just fuel wholesale. They either have retail buying clubs and whatnot, and this can be a great tool to bundle as part of the whole picture of keeping and winning new gallons. The other piece too is, just like for your branded business, that card proceeds flow through you before it goes to a retailer. You can do the same thing on the unbranded side and shield your bottom line from unpaid invoices. All right, so the question really is, do we really want to go through the hassle of getting this set up? We've got a good working system. The reality of this is it's not hard to implement this system at all. There's no cost really to implement. There's no contract. And the fuel wholesaler remains out of risk for scope, compliance, and risk. With Pix, if we are handling the white label service for you, we do all that and keep maintaining it. You just make the introduction and we really take care of everything else from there. And the final piece on this is you can complete setup by syncing your data to your back office through DTN. So this isn't 2 systems living independent of each other, but this really integrates well into whatever Petro accounting software that you're using. It's a no-brainer when it comes to talking to a retailer who says, I'm debranding, I need a card processor, can you handle that for me? It is a very easy built-in way to say, yes, we can do this. And while the revenue share isn't the main reason to do this program, it's definitely icing on the cake of it all. Okay.
I was just going to say, that's an interesting testimonial that you have there as well.
Yeah, I actually spoke to this this wholesaler yesterday. They're bringing a new site to us and just talking through some of the points of what stands out with this program that we do. And he says, in particular, it just makes it a no-brainer for a retailer that we say, yes, we do this. We already have the material for them, and all the headaches are taken out for onboarding them. Mm-hmm. The last piece is I sent out a couple articles about this. The Credit Card Competition Act is particularly what I'm going to lean into here. You've seen, whether it's from us, whether through the Below the Line Club newsletter or through NACS or any other publication, I want to clarify what this is, what it is not, and our position on it. So the Credit Card Competition Act of 2023, it was originally introduced in 22, moved to 23, is basically a bipartisan legislation to reduce swipe fees. Their idea is that Visa and MasterCard must allow alternative networks to process their transactions. This is a lot like how debit cards work, where there is a singular Visa debit card, but there are multiple debit networks that can be routed through. They said we should be able to do this for credit cards as well. All right, so what's the good thing behind it? The good thing is competition is good. And the most outrageous thing to me about the state of our current interchange fees is in the United States, we're almost 200 basis points higher than the European Union. If you take a look at swipe fees in the EU, they're around 30 basis points, 0.3%. In the United States, typical retailer, C-stores around 2%. So that gives you a good idea of what they're allowed to do here versus elsewhere. The bad piece of this is that this only will impact Visa and MasterCard, those two brands, at larger banks. It will not impact American Express, Discover, and smaller banks. When we saw, the other piece that's bad for this is when we saw the Durbin Amendment about debit cards 15 years ago, it did lower debit fees, but those fees are now being made up for in other ways that the card brands make up for that. So they found ways to skirt that, and likely if this is ever passed, the same thing will happen there as well. The other bad thing about this is all the blogs and the influencers that influence consumer buying patterns, they vehemently oppose this. They're sending out articles saying, hey, Congress is trying to take away your rewards points and your travel miles and all your statuses with all these different companies. You should oppose this. So it's not garnering very much of the voters' attention. So that's not good. And if this is passed, for the more savvy customers, they will likely adopt more of the American Expresses and Discover because they're not impacted by this legislation. And in part, I think this bill could have been written by American Express, or at least influenced by American Express, to drive more customers to them by severely handicapping Visa and MasterCard. Our stance is the idea of giving choice to a merchant is great, but it's incredibly hard to implement. Only large corporations have the technology built in for card routing because they're putting the choice in the hands of the merchant. The merchant typically has very little control over what happens after the card shows up. Companies like Walmart do have that ability. They're already doing debit routing, but for the average retailer, they're unable to do this. Some of the processors have the ability to do this. A good example is Fiserv is the largest processor in the petroleum space, and they already own 2 debit networks, which could handle this traffic. So it's unknown whether or not they would take advantage of this program for more revenue for themselves, or they'd pass savings on to the merchant. This is a very simple visual of giving the merchant choice between a traditional network or an alternative network. That's all we really have time for as far as introducing those pieces. Scan to get that calculator. If you're a fuel wholesaler and you're not offering payments right now, or have the ability to white label, I would highly encourage talking to us about it, about how to get that going. And then I hope that clarifies where you should spend your time and energy also in navigating legislation. I think there are better ways to do this, but we can discuss that in future opportunities. With the last minute, I just want to show you this calculator. Let's see if I can get this pulled up here. All right. Jed, is that showing up there?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, so very straightforward calculator. It's just an Excel sheet, but it is very straightforward. You could go grab all of your card processing data from last month, plug it in the calculator, and you'd quickly see where you'd be benchmarked by card type. You see how impactful your card mix is on your overall fees. And you can see your expected effective rate based on average pricing of a pick C store. So it's very easy to see your range of expected effective rates. And you can benchmark that of, oh, I paid less than 1.94% if this was your card mix for this month. Or I paid significantly more and we need to do something about that. So very simple tool, very easy to grab there. And that's all I got, Jed.
Well, thank you, Casey. That's really good stuff. Thank you for making that calculator available. So for the audience, I hope you can leave with some really good resources here, that calculator plus the ideas that we learned, and also that best practice book from LottoShield too. And Mehdi, just really appreciate your time giving freely, as well as you, Casey. And again, wishing your brackets all the best of luck, and enjoy the rest of March Madness. Take care, guys. Bye.